are asked to vote, a voting tab will appear on your webcast platform requesting you to cast your votes. You will only have a limited amount of time to do so. If you've already voted, there is no need to vote again. Voting on all matters will be cast on a single electronic ballot. Registered shareholders or duly appointed proxy holders can ask questions during the meeting using the instant messaging function of the webcast. Please note that there will be a slight delay in the publication of the communications that are received. As we begin the business of the meeting, I ask Terry Lynn Devenish, the company's Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary, to start with an important notice and a reminder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The statements made during this meeting, which are not historical facts, are statements containing forward-looking information, in respect of which various factors and assumptions were applied or taken into consideration. Our actual results could differ materially as a result of numerous risks and uncertainties, and reference should be made to our annual information form and most recent management discussion and analysis for a discussion of these and related risks. With that, I'll turn the meeting back to the chair.
Thank you, Terry. I will now officially call this meeting to order, and we'll start by addressing a few procedural matters. With the consent of the shareholders, I will act as chair of this meeting. Terry Lynn Devenish will act as the secretary, and TFX Trust Company, our transfer agent, by its representatives, will act as the scrutineer of the voting. We will be dealing with a number of formal and administrative matters at today's meeting, and to avoid any technical or logistical difficulties, I will move and second all motions unless there are any objections. Okay, hearing no objection, I ask that Terry Lynn Devenish please table the documents entitled 1. Notice of meeting, 2. Form of proxy, 3. Management Information Circular dated March 25th, 2026, and 4. Declaration of mailing, which provided service of notice of all of these materials on each shareholder of record of the company.
I confirm the tabling of the following documents. 1. Notice of meeting. 2. Form of proxy. 3. Management Information Circular dated March 25th, 2026. And 4. Declaration of mailing.
The notice of meeting, form of proxy, and management information circular were mailed to shareholders on or about April 2nd, 2026. Accordingly, unless there is any objection, I will dispense with the reading of the notice of the meeting. Copies of the meeting materials are available on our website and on the SEDAR+ website under our company's profile. I confirm that all of these documents have been delivered to each director and the auditors of the company as well. According to the bylaw number 1, 2 or more persons holding or representing 25% of the votes attached to the common shares entitled to be voted at the meeting represent a quorum. And I have been advised that there are proxies representing more than 25% of all outstanding common shares of the company, and therefore a quorum of shareholders of the company is present, and the meeting is properly called and duly constituted for the transaction of business. Terry, please include the declaration of mailing of the notice of the meeting and the scrutineer's final report on attendance in the meeting's minutes. As mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, registered shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders will be asked to vote on each item. Voting on each item of business that requires a vote will take place during the meeting. A tab will be visible on the webcast platform requesting you to cast your votes. After you cast your votes on all business items, the scrutineer will compile the votes and the results will be reported at the end of the meeting after all votes on all matters have been counted. As the first item of business on the agenda for today's meeting, I now table the 2025 financial statements and auditor's report of the financial statements. Copies of the statements are available on our website, on the SEDAR+ website under our company's profile, and were mailed to shareholders who requested them. The next item of business is the election of directors. As the company did not receive notice of any director nominations in connection with the meeting in accordance with its general bylaw number 2, an advance notice bylaw, the only persons eligible to be nominated for election to the board of directors of the company are the nominees described in the Management Information Circular. The nominees for election as directors of Altus Group Limited are Will Brannan, Angela Brown, Colin Dyer, Mike Gordon, Anthony Long, Carolyn Schutz, and Thomas Warsaw. If elected, the nominees will hold office until the next annual meeting of shareholders, or until their successors have been elected or appointed. Since there are no other nominations, I move and second a motion to elect the directors. The motion is now on the floor. Our corporate governance guidelines provide for the election of directors according to the company's majority voting policy. A full description of this policy is provided in the Management Information Circular for the meeting. As mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, voting today will be conducted by a single electronic ballot. You will be prompted to vote on the election of each director. Voting will now open on all resolutions. Unless there are any questions or discussions, I will move to the next item of business. The next item of business is the appointment of our auditor for the current year and authorizing the board of directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. On the recommendation of the audit committee, the board of directors recommends that the present auditor, Ernst & Young, be retained for the current year as auditors of the company. And I move and second that Ernst & Young, be appointed auditors of the company until the next annual meeting of shareholders, and that the board of directors be authorized to fix their remuneration. The next item of business is to approve the resolution to increase the number of shares reserved for issuance under the company's long-term equity incentive plan by 1,830,000 shares to 8,594,000 shares. A full description of this item of business is set out at page 13 of the Management Information Circular. On March 19th, 2026, the board of directors approved the increase of 1,830,000 in the number of shares reserved for issuance under the company's long-term incentive plan for equity. Subject to shareholder approval and approval of the Toronto Stock Exchange, this increase of the number of shares has been conditionally approved by the Toronto Stock Exchange, subject to shareholder approval. I move and second that resolution to increase the number of shares reserved for issuance under the company's long-term incentive plan by 1,830,000 shares, which shall be taken as read and be approved. The motion is now on the floor, and you may vote on the resolution to increase the number of shares reserved for issuance under the company's long-term equity incentive plan. Unless there are any questions or discussions, I will move to the final item of business. The final item of business is the approval of the non-binding resolution, the full text of which is set starting on page 14 of the Management Information Circular, that on an advisory basis, and not to diminish the role and responsibilities of the board of directors, the shareholders of the company accept the approach to executive compensation described in the Management Information Circular. The advisory vote is an opportunity for shareholders to have their say regarding our executive compensation. Our plans are designed to align executive compensation with the long-term interests of our shareholders and adopt a policy of pay for performance. I move and second that the shareholders of the company accept the approach to the executive compensation described in the non-binding advisory resolution in the Management Information Circular, which shall be taken as read and be approved. The motion is now on the floor, and you may cast your vote. Unless there are any questions and discussions, we will move on. Once again, I remind you that if you've already voted prior to attending the meeting by completing a proxy or voting information form, there is no need to vote again. Only registered shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders may vote, and if you have signed in as a guest, you will not be able to vote. Once the electronic balloting closes, the voting page will disappear and your votes will be automatically submitted. We'll wait a few more moments for the completion of the electronic ballot and then move on with the remainder of the meeting. That's my favorite part of the meeting. I have received the scrutineer's preliminary report and confirmed the following. Will Brennan, Angela Brown, Colin Dyer, Mike Gordon, Anthony Long, Carolyn Schutz, and Thomas Worsup have been approved as elected directors of the company to serve until the next annual meeting of the shareholders or until their successors are elected or appointed. Number 2, the appointment of Ernst & Young as the auditors of the company has been approved, and the board of directors of the company has been authorized to fix their remuneration. Number 3, the resolution to increase the number of shares reserved for issuance under the company's long-term incentive plan has been approved. And number 4, the non-binding advisory resolution that the shareholders of the company accept the approach to executive compensation described in the Management Information Circular has also been approved. As the formal items of business as set out in the notice of the meeting have now been addressed, I move and second that this meeting now terminate. As there is no further business to come before the meeting, I declare the meeting to be concluded. As announced on April 7th, 2026, the company will be releasing earnings and conducting an earnings call after the market close tomorrow, at which time I, as board and chair and CEO, Pawan Chhabra, our CFO, will report on the financial performance and operations of the company. On behalf of the board and the company, I would like to thank you for your attendance today and your continued support of our company. We're now going to open the floor to questions from you, our shareholders. If you would like to ask a question, please use the instant messaging feature of the webcast platform to do so. When asking your question, please state your name, the entity you represent, if any, and confirm your status as a registered shareholder or a duly appointed proxy holder. Please limit your questions to the topics relating to today's subject matter. Well, that seems to be all the questions for today, or it appears there are no questions at this time. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining today and have a great rest of your day. Thank you all.